Well, Gigi, thanks for joining us once again. Good to see you. I know we just talked the other day in the Bruins pregame show about your incredible career. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's fun to be on the show.
Yeah, so we talked about your retirement and gave a little bit of your background playing, growing up in Minnesota, playing at the University of Minnesota, top 10 Patty Kazmaier a couple of times, going to the Frozen Four, a great international career, which we'll talk about, winning gold at the Olympics in 2018, and then a professional hockey career as well. You have so many accolades in that time, but first, let's just talk about your decision to retire. What went into it?
I think just taking a comprehensive look at like my season last year, but overall my career. I mean, it does a number on your body and your mind, and I had just came to a point where I felt so much peace that hey, I've been fortunate enough to have an extremely long career. I was the oldest player in the league last year, and I loved it. But I think I just felt like it was now the right time to hang up the skates, and I couldn't have been more thrilled with how my career ended up taking place and like how it panned out over the years. And so I'm really grateful for that ability to kind of be like, yeah, this is the right time and I'm going to choose to go out on my terms. And it felt a lot of peace and gratitude.
I want to talk about PWHL Boston, now known as the Boston Fleet, coming up in a little bit. But I just want to get a little bit, of your family history in terms of your hockey background. When did you first lace up the skates? Who inspired you to play?
Well, so skates were put on me literally the day after I could walk by my dad because it's just so I grew up in a hockey crazed family in a hockey town in Minnesota. And so those skates were going on no matter what. It just so happened to be that I fell in love with the sport. And so my grandpa, he's in a couple of different hockey Hall of Fames. He was the U.S. general manager and a U.S. coach for the men's national team. He's heavily involved and he started the program at North Dakota, and I have a lot of cousins and family members who went to North Dakota, and I obviously took the opposite route and went completely against like everything that they kind of believed in and signed with the Gophers and played there, which was kind of entertaining just amongst our family since so many people played for the Fighting Sioux growing up, and so I think I was very grateful because I was surrounded by so much success just within my family. And to be able to witness that work ethic firsthand was instrumental in my career and helped me really set great goals and attainable ones because I was like, wow, well, look at what my uncle did or my cousin did or my grandpa has done. And like, this is something that's a tangible, or tangible, and it could be an opportunity for me.
It must have been a great thrill being from Minnesota to play for the University of Minnesota. What was your college experience like? I know you had a lot of success there with the Gophers.
I loved it. I had so much fun. I hope everyone can look back on their college years and really enjoy it and have a blast thinking about the memories they made. But I was really fortunate. Ritter Arena was the best rink in the country when I was playing, and I still think it's one of the best venues in women's hockey all across the board. And so I had incredible teammates. We excelled. We were able to go to the NCAA tournament every single year, and just to have that kind of success and be surrounded by greatness every day and really enabled me to become the best player I could be. And I think, or I know it set me up for international success. And that was my whole goal. When I was little, I wanted to go to college, but my ultimate goal was being an Olympic champion. And so I think I'm really grateful for how the University of Minnesota set me up and prepared me for success, even at a later stage in my career.
Yeah, let's talk about the international career since you brought it up. Obviously, you look at your resume, see a lot of medals there between, world championships, and then you have obviously the Olympics, and you have this U.S. women's hockey team that won gold in '98 and beat Canada, and 20 years later you're able to do it again. But before that, Gigi, you play Canada twice in the gold medal game, and you end up falling short. In 2010, 2014, you lose in overtime, and then you get another opportunity to play Canada in 2018. Uh, what was going through your mind, if you can remember, going into that game, or even that Olympics, knowing that you could see Canada again and not being able to get over that hump the first two times?
Yeah, it's just devastating, to be honest. Like, no competitor wants to lose, right? Like, it's the worst. And with the Olympics, it's not just, oh, let's get back next year. No, you have to wait 4 years. Like, that is a really long time. And for, in my case, with some of my teammates who had already been there the same time as I had, we had 8 years. And so you play it in 2010, and there was the 4 years training ahead of that. So if you add it all up, it'd be 12 years of training and competing just for one win in the Olympic gold medal game. And so it was like brutal. And it really required an attention to detail and a willingness to just embrace the grind, because it takes, you can get lost in how far away and far off that gold medal can be if you're 3 years out, 2 years out, even a year out. And so it required a lot of like mental skills of really dialing in and linking today's task with tomorrow's success, if that makes sense. And so you really had to just kind of embrace the grind and the details and the little things, because you know when you play Canada at the highest level, they're phenomenal. They're a great team that brings out the best in us, and I hope we do the same for them. And so it again came to be the same situation where here we are, championship medal game, going into overtime, just like we did in 2014. Well, then we go to a shootout. Then we can't figure it out in the shootout. So we go to extra players in the shootout. I mean, it was just like you couldn't have get that much more slimmer of a margin between first and second, champion and really just a silver medal. And so it was it took a lot of mental composure and skills that we had worked tirelessly on to prepare ourselves for that moment to succeed when the time came.
You scored in the shootout, which is pretty cool, I'm sure. But I want to, reread a quote that you had after the win. You had said, "Our opponent is never the other team. It's always doubt and fear that's the opponent." And you talked about being up 1-0, then being down 2-1. Um, did that? You talked about trusting the process and the mental skills. It must have been tested in a huge way.
Oh, it was. And even before we went, you're mentioning we were down 2-1 heading into the third period. And so we have that break. Well, I was the one pulled aside for an interview, and the media literally reminded me of our failure 4 years ago. And so already planting doubt in my mind of, but we had so much mental skill work, and that I was like, it tomorrow, last year, 4 years ago, is not going to define how we play tonight. And so we were so confident, so skilled. And it honestly, I walked in the room after the interview, and you just look around in everyone's eyes and you could see and sense something was going to change and we were going to break through. And sure enough, Monique Lamoureux got a goal and we were able to come back and win in extra players in the shootout. But it it really did feel like almost everything was set up against us, but we had trained so purposefully in so many mundane moments to set us up for the success and believe in our hearts. And I think a lot of people get tied up in the opponent, like the person across the ice, the face-off dot from you. And really, what limits our potential is our own insecurity or our own inability to handle fear or our own inability to rise to the occasion to perform well under pressure, which it could be doubt, it could be past failures, it could be, any number of things or that kind of limit us or shrink the light that we have within us. And so I'm really proud of my teammates who took that challenge and focused on themselves and making ourselves better for the moment when it came, so that we were able to quickly be like, no, this isn't 4 years ago. We will not lose this game. We are stronger and more mentally tough, and kind of all those different things that you say to yourself to fire yourself up. But yeah, it was I'm kind of like, hey, like, why are we talking 4 years ago? Like, now is a different time, different team. We're going to do something completely different and bring our A game out there for the third period.
Man, it's one thing to ask the question about 4 years ago leading up to the game. It's a whole different ball game from a reporter's perspective to ask you about 4 years ago as you go to the third period
Right?
down 2-1.
I'm like, but
That's
you're American. Like, what is going on here?
oh, well, you were able to overcome Canada and the interview in that
Yeah.
second intermission as well. I want to talk about your professional hockey career now, and you have impressive resume in that department as well. Between the Boston Blades and the Boston Pride, winning the Clarkson Cup and then the Isabel, and then you get you're sort of semi-retired after that, right? Um, and you come back to play for PWHL Boston. What went into the decision to come back?
I run a hockey camp in the summer with little kids, and I just was like, actually, it's crazy. 2 days, I remember clear as day, 2 days before the announcement for this league, I was like, man, I really want to play hockey again. I took a year off and did some broadcast work, which I loved, and it was awesome. But I'm like, you know what? Why don't I come back and play hockey and see what that's then? Then all of a sudden, 2 days later, they announced that, hey, it's actually happening this January. Like the league is going to be come to fruition, and I was like, this is awesome. Well, so I ramped up my training because I still worked out. I enjoy working out, but it's like, okay, let's see how my body responds because I'm not exactly a young one. And so thankfully everything just worked out extremely well, felt great on the ice, felt great in the conditioning, the training, as the intensity increased over those next couple weeks. And so I was so excited for trying training camp and just getting prepared to bring my A game essentially to make the team.
And your experience in front of the PWHL crowd, playing in Lowell, obviously, this was a big deal because for a number of reasons, but one in particular was the fact that players are finally earning more money and they could focus on their hockey career rather than their day jobs, because a lot of these ladies, most of them, had careers outside of hockey. So I imagine having to balance, a job playing
Mhm.
hockey. I mean, if you want to mix in a family there as well, I mean, that is crazy. So, how big of a deal was the PWHL and its formation?
It was huge, and you said it perfectly. Like, as an athlete, how do we only become responsible for what our job is? Well, previously to this PWHL, we were also balancing other jobs. We were also our equipment manager and had to figure out, okay, I need to go get my skates sharpened before I practice, or oh man, my stick, I need to cut it off. Like, I don't have a saw, so I got to figure out where to go to get it cut off. Or, you had to figure out training room, like an athletic trainer. You had to find your own extra ice time. You had to find your own skill coach. I mean, all these things that um, you think of being an athlete who should only be focused on their rest, their recovery, their job, their watching video, their bettering of themselves. I mean, we're focused on doing everything. We're are essentially our own general manager and director of ops and training room um, player. But I think it was phenomenal to be able to have a league where the athlete genuinely could just be the athlete, where there were roles in place and structures in place so that if you were injured or you needed to kind of do maintenance work, you just go to the people who are hired to do that. You don't have to do that yourself. You don't have to seek it out outside the team. You just go within the team structure and see that. And so it was just little things like that, or having people don't even realize it, but we didn't have a locker room. And so the simple thing of being able to leave your gear in the locker room instead of take it home in your car and then, oh my gosh, I forgot it. So now it's all wet. Like, I mean, it's crazy to think about, but I just laugh thinking about so many young kids who are in high school who have their own locker room at their own rink. And, here we are professional post college and still don't have anything. And so that's one massive thing that the PWHL did that is just like a blessing and so different from past leagues.
And finally, Gigi, I want to get your thoughts on first of all the name Boston Fleet. You love it?
Love it. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. And second, this is a team that went all the way to the finals last year. You know, what are your expectations for year two?
Yeah, I think just more of the same. If anything, building off that past that the identity that was created on the playoff run. I think everyone knows the games are so tight in this league. And so if Boston is able to have a successful power play, like just raise their power play percentage up a little bit. I mean, that's a goal differential that where we've lost so many games by one goal. And so I think seeing increased scoring, having the ability to succeed on a power play, I think is just going to be something that is so beneficial for this team. And we played so hard, so well as a unit the last like couple months of the last maybe 1.5 months of the season, like heading into playoffs. And so I think with the Boston Fleet this year to start the season like that is going to be huge for them to separate themselves from the pack and set them up for great success.
Yeah, looking forward to the opener on November 30th in Toronto. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, to have a name, right? You love the fact that the PWHL was here, and PWHL Boston was great, but now you can just call it the Fleet. Let's go Fleet, right? That's much easier to say. It rolls off the tongue.
It does. It sounds great. It looks good. It's going to be a fun season.
Awesome. Well, Gigi Marvin, thank you so much for joining us, and congrats on a great career, and good luck in retirement. I know you're in the broadcast booth doing Hockey East games, which is pretty cool. So we look forward to hearing you then. But otherwise, thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.